Welcome to Coaches Roundtable. I'm Ed Codi, and welcome for the first time former Major League Baseball pitcher and current Butler High School basketball coach Matt Clement. Matt, it's baseball season, so let's talk a little baseball. Look back at your career, San Diego, the Cubs, the Marlins, Boston, 9-year career. Sounds like it was a long time, but when you look back, how fast did that go by?
It went really quick, and you start thinking back, my 25th high school reunion is this year. So to think about how quick that went, I was 16 years of pro ball, but 9.5 in the major leagues, and then the other ones were in their minor leagues, and it was like lightning. It went quick, and but it was a lot of fun, and I cherished every minute I got to do it.
Outstanding major league career in 9 years. You make it to the bigs. You got a World Series ring with Boston. Of course, that has to be the highlight of your career. Anything else that stands out for you when you look back?
Well, it was just, I just loved the opportunity. Being a kid who grew up and collected baseball cards with my dad and was so into Major League Baseball and stats and everything else, there was a lot of days I'd just go to the field early on a day game and get there at like 7 a.m. and sit in the bleachers in Dodger Stadium. And it kind of was a step back to realize where I was when all the time there was so much pressure of pitching there. And, just the ability to get there and play there and be a part of so many teams and around great players, I would have never dreamed I would have got to play with Greg Maddux and against Barry Bonds and with Tony Gwynn and just all these Hall of Famers that I got to be around. The run with the Cubs was I would say definitely one of the bigger highlights of my career because with the Red Sox I was hurt during that World Series year, but with the Cubs I was in the middle of the thicket of trying to win the World Series, and although it ended rough, it was a lot of my closest friends from baseball were on that team, and it's just great memories.
Well, last week I picked up my issue of Sports Illustrated, and on the cover was your former teammate Sammy Sosa, and that brought you to mind right away. In that period of the late 90s and into the 2000s, the so-called steroid era, I wanted to ask you, that home run race between Sosa and McGuire when attendance was down, it rejuvenated baseball. I know I went to see McGuire when he came in with the Cardinals down at then Three Rivers. And, of course, you played with Sosa and then Bonds. During the steroid era, what was the attitude of players not using performance-enhancing drugs towards those who were using them and maybe suspected of using them?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of talk about it that was going on, and I'm being dead honest. I was so worried about myself and how I was going to stay in the major leagues and stay in the rotation that I let it happen around me. I always, I had a lot of good advice when I was younger, not to let the external factors that I had no control over, affect what I was trying to do. And it was there were some guys that showed up to spring training from other teams that you'd see that the next year were real skinny or real big or whatever the case may be, and there was always talk. But there was never, it was weird because I kind of break that down into two phases. The first phase was there was no testing, there was no repercussion for doing it.
It was illegal in the general public, but there was no baseball rule against it.
Exactly. So that phase was really, the end of my career was the phase, the end, I think it was with the Cubs, my last year with the Cubs, so my last 4 years in the major leagues was the phase where they were testing, and everything else was going on. That's the part that I've had a little bit more trouble handling is, getting caught after that. Now, there's I don't know all the ins and outs because like I said, I didn't put myself in the thicket of all that was going on. But it was, it's you hear some of the testimonies and what some of the guys are saying, and they're taking, it could be something they're taking for a heart rate or whatever the case may be, and it's real easy to say to them. I look at it and I try to be really like, okay, could I believe this? Is this true? And I think especially the Latin players that are coming over, who the medical field probably isn't as good as it is over here. They get prescribed different kinds of things that could tip it that way. But I always thought after they started testing it, really hard to get caught with something that's really that was the hard thing I had trouble with.
Guys who denied it got caught with it. Right. Rafael Palmeiro and A-Rod.
Yeah.
And then Sammy, you have to remember the game where you were with the Cubs when the bat broke and the cork was in there. Maybe no one else on the team knew, but that certainly had to be a revelation.
Yeah, I went to the plate with some of Sammy's bats, and I had no.
Did you hit any out?
He had the best bats on the team. He had the best wood on the team. So no, that was definitely a surprise. And like I said before, the part that's tougher for me to understand, and I always give the benefit of the doubt because nobody's perfect, and there could be an instance where you have a medical condition or whatever the case may be where you took something that causes the positive test or whatever the case may be. It's just real hard for me to sit there and understand, especially some guys that like had Hall of Fame careers could get caught after they started like the mandatory testing. That was a tough thing for me. But
Jim Leland, a former Pirate manager, and you know him well, said he noticed things suddenly when a former Punch and Judy hitter, right-handed batter, was hitting home runs to the opposite field, and he said there's something going on here. So he was one of the first to notice that. Having said that, if you had to cast a vote today, there's a great divide there about these guys in the Hall of Fame, Sosa, McGuire, and Bonds, deserving of being in the Hall of Fame?
Well, they're definitely Hall of Fame players. I mean, as far as what the careers they put up, and I guess that's kind of the point I was making before. I think that once you make it's the hard thing for me to understand is these guys were Hall of Famers before they got caught with the mandatory testing.
Right.
So why get caught at that point? And it's real hard to think about Barry Bonds not being in the Hall of Fame or Roger Clemens not being in the Hall of Fame. If you wanted me to say, I honestly, it doesn't matter to me either way. I think they're all had Hall of Fame careers. But if you want me to honestly say what's going to happen is I think they're going to get in, but they're going to get in probably after they pass away.
Later, and when the attitude of some of the older sports writers move away and the younger ones step in.
Which is a shame because that's something, but I guess maybe that's the punishment that that some people think they need to get because they did what they did. But I think in the long run, at the end of this whole thing, you're going to see, I'd say the majority of those guys get in. I don't know if all of them will, though.
And there's some former players like Johnny Bench and so on, so maybe Hank Aaron in many ways, who they're kind of outspoken about those guys and what they did.
Right.
Matt, in the final minutes here, let's switch over to basketball. You've had a very successful career as a Butler High basketball coach. You have a star player. Expectations are running high. Ethan Morton's coming into his junior year. He's going to have all the records at Butler. How are you advising him on the recruiting process?
Well, again, this isn't my decision to make, but I think him and his family are leaning on me pretty good because of the experience I have with getting recruited myself and going through the different things I've went through. And the first 2 years of this, all the phone calls came through me. June 15th, my phone got a lot less busy because they could start calling him.
And you know about it because you could have gone to Lafayette, Bucknell, or Duquesne for basketball. You made the right decision with baseball.
Yeah, and I also had, when I got drafted, I had about 7 or 8 baseball school scholarships. Then I had about 10 new friends that were, once I got drafted, that didn't know about me. So I dealt with the rush of it. But when I described this whole thing with Ethan, I dealt with it in like 90 days what he's dealing with in 4 years, spread out over 4 years, and even to a higher degree. I know it's hard to say because I got drafted, but most of the schools, most of the big schools know about him. I think that he's just trying. It's funny because people ask me all the time, is he leaning one way? And it's really, he's going to go through this summer and then he's going to evaluate where everything is. I don't expect him to do anything but maybe cross a few off the list, if anything. But I think he has some really. My job as a coach is to make sure he has some really good options.
And you're dealing with two things here. He's a star player, and you're aiming for a WPL championship, a state championship, so on. So has it been difficult for you to keep everything in perspective and to keep everyone focused on the goals that you have as a coach?
Well, Ethan is the greatest. One of the biggest compliments I can give Ethan is he's 100% about what we're doing at Butler. And I think a lot of times when you have athletes that get the opportunities that he has, it's more about his recruiting and all the other stuff. And Ethan's somebody that'll tell me about a great opportunity he has to go to a top 100 camp or whatever. But coach, we're playing in a team camp that weekend. And I'm like, of course you're going to go to the top 100 camp because that's something that, I tell him all the time, you're getting to do things that other people never even dream about.
I understand he's an outstanding student also.
Yes, a very top 10 in the class academically. And I think I guess going back to the recruiting question, he's got great options. And that was my goal to start this thing. Great options, great academic schools, great basketball coaches, places. You know, a lot of people have two options at the end of this, and they have to choose. I tell Ethan all the time, you know, you're really lucky. You have multiple options where you fit in, and you can choose where you think you're going to fit in the best, and what coach you mesh with the best. And you have 2 or 3 years to get to know some of these guys. A lot of people aren't as lucky as he is to be in a situation like that, and he's very mature and handles it very well.
Well, Matt, thanks for joining us. It seemed like yesterday I was doing a game on the radio, and you poured in 7 trays against Ambridge. I think you could have had 15 that night, but Coach Julep pulled you out. You guys were routing the Bridgers. But thanks for coming on. Good luck. Before long, we'll be doing a basketball game.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ed.
I'll be right back with Ellen George. I am back, joined to my right by the Swami George Abraham, to my left by the Tiger Albert Campman. First time on for Matt Clement. You know, look back, 9-year Major League career, got that ring with the Boston Red Sox. But guys, how fast the time has gone by.
And I like his humility. If you didn't know he played for the Boston Red Sox, he doesn't brag about it, doesn't tell anybody, doesn't know about a ring. People show their rings off. He's just a good man. I appreciate that.
And getting ready for basketball coming around with Ethan Morton back, being heavily recruited, the expectations are running high.
Oh, no question about it. A player that good has not been in the area maybe ever.
And we, of course, will focus on doing a couple of those games this year.
Yeah.
Always been good. By the way, check the Coach's Spotlight this month, a feature on North Allegheny athletics. Let's go to Spotlight. Knock grad Dominic Bucco, a switch-hitting outfielder for the Butler Blue Sox, is hitting .500, 12 for 24 since joining the club. Bucco, who helped the Knights win a state championship, attends Cuyahoga Community College. You know, he turned down a scholarship offer to Kent State, and the advice of some scouts who said it was better for him to go to a junior college. That way he wouldn't have to wait to get drafted. I don't know. You know, Kent State's for years had a great baseball program since the days of Rich Rollins, who went from there to the Minnesota Twins. I don't know. It's a tough situation. What do you do there?
I like the advice. I like when you're not sure what to do, talk to somebody who's been through it, understands it, knows the draft process really well. And if he's hitting like this, he's going to be seen by somebody, and somebody's going to take him.
North Allegheny's Aiden Owens headed to USC. He will compete in the decathlon in the IAAF World Championship in Finland, and he will represent Puerto Rico. It's the home of his mother's parents.
Wow. I mean, he's been such a dominant athlete in track and field in this area. It's going to be very – I like to see when you step it up and see who else is out there. Like where he comes into the Catholic. It's going to be interesting to us.
You know, we may in a few years here in the 2020 Olympics have 2 area athletes in the Olympics. And Jordan Geis and Oden.
And I got to see him within 20 feet. You know, it's amazing that you stand away from him. And Jordan, we met the parents and we met him personally. And Owens ran the hurdles right in front of me. You know, just sensational. So that's a lot of fun.
I read that. He was saying something about people ask him, why aren't you competing for the U.S.? Was a maternal grandma.
He wants to honor his grandparents.
But I mean, it's just what a great athlete. I watch those guys, and I see what they do the 100 and how high they high jump. But it's just incredible.
And also in track, Butler's Jake Wolfram will continue his career at Duquesne University. Wolfram holds the Butler High School record in 300 hurdles. He also ran the 110, the 400 meters, and he was also on the relay teams.
You see all these coaches at the WPL finals and at the state track meet. You know, everybody knows about football recruiting. Those track coaches are out there recruiting also.
And at Lernerville Speedway, Sarver's Michael Norris won the late model feature. Cal Conley won the sprint. Jeremiah Shingledecker won the modified feature race. And Tyler Dietz was winner of the pure stocks. And Seneca Valley's Nathan Adamaitis, this past spring, he took first place in the American State Legion Junior Marksmanship Tournament as a member of the Junior ROTC. Our stories of the week: Major League Baseball, the Pirates 42-48, 12 back of Milwaukee. They lost 3 straight to the Dodgers. They were bludgeoned. Wow. The Dodgers hit 10 home runs in 2 games. I always thought the Dodger Stadium was such a tough place to hit home runs. Ivan Nova gave up a record 5 in the 8-3 loss, and so they started out a great road trip 4-2. And then lost 3 straight. The Dodgers came home, lost the first 2 to the Phillies, including a 17-6 loss The game went 4.5 hours, the longest 9-inning game in Pirate history.
I was there.
You were there.
I was there, and we left in the 8th, and because it was so long. But I was very pleased that they come back and won the next 2, because I remember that streak they went on a couple years ago. They lost every game for a month, and at least they come out of it because Washington has owned them, and I was glad they won a game against Washington.
There's a team that's fading. Washington, all the high
Yeah, they
hopes
blame
they had.
Dusty Baker. They got to find someone else.
Yeah,
Good line, George.
The Pirates beat him 6-3, and Polanco's into his Willie McCovey mode.
Do it.
4 RBIs, a home run, gives him 13 homers, 47 ribbies, batting up to 236. You say, well, that's not much. Well, he was hitting 202 a month ago, but here we go. 1 week he's McCovey, the next week he's Mario Mendoza.
Yeah, and that's the team. You're describing their
Marte
team.
now.
Inconsistent, or what they do inconsistent. But I will say I'm very pleased that Vasquez is back again, because now it looks like when they get into the 9th inning, they have a win. You know, for that one stage there, they didn't have it.
And he struck out the side on Sunday. Got a save last night. He's lowered his ERA to 3.29. Has 19 saves and 23 attempts.
I don't go by ERA with a reliever.
Well,
No.
his is high.
He's
3.29.
got
that one
51
inning.
closer.
He's got 51 strikeouts and 37.
Yeah,
innings.
he's dominant. He's a really dominant.
But he was up there in the high fives before him when he got better. He's named to the All-Star team. Whether it's deserving or not, you have to name a representative from each team. Who else on the Pirates would you take?
Well, the truth of the matter, he is deserving. If he was on any team, he'd be on it, and he's the only one.
Yeah.
If he wasn't on there,
No shit.
they don't have a deserving guy. But he is the one that's
He
deserving.
could get 3 outs in that game, Ed, if he had to.
Now, GM Neil Huntington,
No.
he says he accepts the blame for this season and the way the team has been playing. He says that's his team.
Yeah, but he also says other things that I don't like. Where he says, you know, if the fans came out, we might go out and
more,
get more,
yeah.
get better players.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that. I want to hear straight shoot that they've screwed up. They didn't get enough good players, and that's where they stand. And Vegas knew it. Vegas had the over/under at 73 wins. And Vegas is not throwing money away ever. They felt Pittsburgh was not going to win.
Not
I
only
didn't
did
hear
he-
one guy, "Whoa, that's too low. Let's go get it." I didn't hear anybody.
Not
Right.
only did he say that, but the guy who writes the checks,
That's
Frank
what bothers
Coonelly.
me. Yes.
Yeah.
He's the one that said that. Now, here
I
we
blame
go.
him.
Yeah, him. Now, here we go with this talk again. All right. Sell off all these veterans. Bring up the young players. What Yogi Berra say? Deja vu all over again. How many times have they done this? Are you serious? You want to bring up and stock this team with minor league players and another sell off? Why?
Well, there's a why for me. If you can get 3 or 4 good players, that's the problem. You don't always get that. So I wouldn't sell anything off if you're not getting good players. It depends what you get back. That's how the Yankees got so good all of a sudden. They did it. They took all their thighs through them, but they got 4 great
And that's
players
how
back.
Houston did it, too.
Yeah, exactly. So if that can be done, I'll do it. But I don't want to see
Get him rid of him.
just get rid of a guy.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree. 100,000.
But they've been through this so
yeah.
many different
and they won't
times.
pay when they finally do have something. Pay them. They won't.
They won't do it. My point is, if you have a team that you think is in place, but you need a few more pieces for the puzzle, go out and get them rather than sell off, start all over
How about
again.
little Milwaukee?
Yeah. And
With a payroll that's similar to the Pirates.
And they went out and got 2 guys to put them over.
Milwaukee right now is doing the way Pittsburgh did for 3 years. Bullpen. Pittsburgh had that Melanson, hand bullpen. They had a great. They would dominate games in the late innings. Milwaukee's doing that now. That's the way the low market teams have to do it. Find 3 or 4 good relievers, build a team around that, and try to win.
The All-Star game is July 17th of Washington. Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton says they will not participate in the home run derby. It's been my experience. We've seen it before. Guys win that home run derby, and then the second half of the season, for whatever reason, they wilt.
I think they're thinking of that also. I think the Eddie Codi way. They're saying, listen, I followed too many home run derbies and saw a guy win it and then go in the tank the second half. So they're probably saying Yankees are more important than winning a home run derby.
Yeah, that might come from above.
Probably does, doesn't it?
Yes, you've already done it. Why do it again?
I think Harper's all geared up for it because it's his home park, isn't it?
Boy, is he struggling. I mean, the home runs are there,
I know.
but he's only hitting 217.
Yeah,
Overrated. It's very simple. Yes, he's a very good player. They have him as a superstar. He's not a superstar.
Trout's the
he's a very good player, but he's not a superstar.
Trout and Altuve.
Yes,
Also, they're
exactly.
the 2
You know what
best.
I'd like to see? A David and Goliath home run derby.
Altuve and Judge.
Yeah, well, yeah, with a couple others on each
I
team.
gotcha.
I mean, if I had to start a team and you'd say which one of those two would you take, slight edge, I would take Trout.
Oh, yeah.
But not by much.
Yeah,
But
Major,
not by much.
Major League Baseball, that's number one
Yeah,
player.
and
They would take Trout.
his WAR is nearing Babe Ruth proportions.
He reminds me of those of the days of
The old timers.
Mantle and Mays
Yeah,
and
power
Aaron
and
those
speed.
guys.
You don't have that. You don't have the power he has, the speed he has, and the eye he has.
Five-tool player.
Has everything, yes.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Mays and Aaron, July 7th, 1959, the All-Star game at Forbes Field in Pittsburgh. The National League won 5-4 on a game-tying eighth-inning single by Hank Aaron, followed by Willie Mays' triple to win it. You imagine today the star players being in the All-Star game in the eighth inning?
Never.
They're on a flight already. No, I'm serious. They're at the airport.
They're already showered,
No.
dressed, and gone.
I will
not
say this
sure.
about the All-Star game. It's the best of all the All-Star games played.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
The
More
rest
like
of them
a
are
real
joke.
game.
The
No,
real
no.
game. Like they're
That's
throwing
a real
96.
game.
They're throwing
Yeah.
97. They're like if it was NBA, they'd be throwing the ball at 88 miles
They
an
put it
hour.
on a tee.
And yeah,
No, they
so-
play Matador defense.
Yeah, exactly.
Let them
It's still
through.
the best All-Star
And football, they're not
But
going
you
to
know what?
hit
I
anyone.
look at those rosters and daggone American League.
Yeah, they got the better players.
They do.
They do.
And this date, July 10th, 1936, Major League Baseball, Philadelphia's Chuck Klein hit 4 home runs in a 9-6 win over the Pirates. Where did he do it? At Forbes Field.
Well, that means he really did it well. And he hit the ball there 457. That's that's doing it well.
No, I never heard of him.
Chuck Klein. Yeah,
Tremendous player for
outstanding
Philadelphia.
player. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Now, baseball, basketball, football, and money. Here's the issue. Everything's coming together here between the baseball all-star game and the teams headed to their football camps. Baseball and basketball, every penny in a contract is guaranteed. Like the contract that LeBron James signed, $154 million. He gets every penny. No fully guaranteed contracts in football. The current collective bargaining agreement ends in 2021, and the players are pushing and pushing for these guaranteed contracts. Wow. They say we play in the toughest of all sports. We play in the richest of all sports. You have serious injuries. The career longevity is the shortest of all sports. So let's look. They're going to head for this showdown. Let's look at Le'Veon Bell. Is he out of line asking for the money he's asking for? Guaranteed money is an issue, or is he a face of contracts to come in the NFL?
Face of contracts to come. I see it happen. I have no doubt about that. That they're going to try to. But I still think the owners rule the roost. That's why I don't think the players rule the roost in the pros. I think that if it comes down to it, the owners seem to win in the NFL, and until what happened changes, I think it's still going to stay that way. What do you guys think?
I think there's going to be a work stoppage. I think the players are going to really dig in here. They want some guaranteed money, and I can't blame them.
You have to look historically. How did the game that is the toughest, the hardest, the most easy to get hurt become the one with no guarantees, and the other two fully guaranteed? It had to be the union.
Yeah, and I think it has to be the owner. Like I said, I think that's the one sport.
True.
That's the one sport that the owners stick together much better. Baseball, somebody breaks down. NBA, somebody breaks. The owners in the NFL, they get together and say, "Listen, we're all billionaires here. They're going to break. Somebody in that union's going to say, "Wait a minute, I'm not getting any money."
I didn't realize that
I'm
year
not
that
getting
the
any money.
Skins won. I didn't realize how many of those Dallas Cowboys came in and played in that
That's what I'm
scab game.
talking about. They broke down. The owners don't break down in the NFL. They break down.
And here's the thing, because people would say, "Oh, you see, Bell wants this $14 million a year. What kind of money?" And I said, "Do you know what the owners make?" No.
Yes.
I said, "You don't read about that. They make billions in the
See what they just
NFL."
sold Carolina. Has to be one of the smallest franchises money-wise. $2.2 billion.
Yes.
And they're one of the smallest.
Oh, by
Yes.
far. The Cowboys 2.5 times.
Yeah.
Two times.
The money, let's say, for example, that the Steelers get here in another month, the payroll's paid for.
Right.
Just with the TV money, plus the surplus.
And that's the
of it.
power the owners have. And that's what I repeat my third time I've said on the show today. They have that power. They'll look at the players and say, "Listen, don't play this year then, because that's okay. We got billions built up in our payroll." And all of a sudden they'll break.
And then what they do, they release all this information now. Bell, he's either a great player, oh no, he's overrated. They try to diminish what he's done. He's touched the ball more than anyone else in the NFL the last 3 years. So is he a great player? He's not a great player. You want to pay him? You don't want to pay him.
I know he's a great player. I don't have to put a
blocks.
game on. I don't have to put a game on for long. I remember when he came out, George said, "You know, Steelers just got the best player in the
told
draft."
him.
Yes.
Then I saw you lost a little weight. I called him. I said, "You know they got the best back in the draft.
Yes.
400 touches a year."
I support the players.
I do too.
Well, so do I.
I support the
I
players.
do too, but I don't.
A broken leg. Say he signs a 4-year, let's say $60 million contract, $20 million's guaranteed. Okay, he breaks his leg, can't ever play again. The guaranteed money is a big issue with them.
We're against the Steeler fans. The Steeler fans, you know, if you listen to the Steeler fans, they support the Rooneys 100 and millions %. They don't support the players ever.
I support Le'Veon, and I support every player.
And I never
get the best contract you
said
can.
something. I said, "What did he go in with a gun?" They gave it to him.
Yes.
Now, college football camps, they start in August. I was noticing this about Pitt's 2019 recruiting class. A month ago, I was checking. They weren't even listed in the top 120. Last week, they vaulted inside, cracked the top 40 with 14 recruits, 5 from Florida. Now, listen to what Narduzzi said. It's interesting. He said he pays no attention to star ratings or team rankings. And this is what he told a Post-Gazette reporter, quote, "I'll tell you a quick story about those rankings. You know where you can stick them," end of quote. So what do you feel about this look at 3-star, 4-star team
If
rankings?
it didn't mean anything, they wouldn't do it, and Alabama wouldn't have them all. So obviously it means something, first of all. And secondly, I do like Albert. I look at who they beat. I see Penn State beating Auburn and Florida State for a receiver. I know he's a good one.
Yeah, and Pitt is not going to get the 5-star. That's why he can't look at
And they can't waste their time.
Yeah, they won't, and they won't.
Them.
They're going to try to pick the player that best resembles a Pitt guy who's been successful. The Aaron Donald.
Coach him up.
And say, this guy can become this.
Boise,
see him.
Boise. Boise.
Yes.
Coach him up like
That's
Boise.
what Pitt has to be.
And even Michigan State, that was
No,
a
he
pattern
learned that. He learned
when he learned that from
great job, Eddie.
D'Antonio.
He learned that from. He said,
They
if
don't
I
get
go,
five
they don't
either.
get 5 stars.
No.
They get the 3 and 4 stars that I can make into look like a 5-star. He copied that from Michigan State.
Now, just looking, it's Alabama again, number
jeez.
1, and Ohio State's in there. Clemson, Florida State, Texas
Georgia.
A&M, Notre Dame, Georgia. It's the haves and the have-nots.
It's never gonna change.
all over
Take a
again.
map, wake up in 10 years, you guess 8 of them.
Well, we'll have more to talk about that later on. I'll go back to what I said before. They need to change everything. The 4 top power ranking conferences, and they have their own playoff system. Hey, World Cup semis, France versus Belgium. And Belgium coached by Brazilian Roberto Martinez, first time that's ever happened. And Croatia will take on England. They knocked off Russia, did Croatia in Russia. The championship will be Sunday in Russia, but no one's watching the World Cup ratings in U.S. down 42% from 4 years ago. Our producer, Carmen, he quit watching after Italy lost. and they went out faster than he could eat a salami sandwich.
Well, France has moved on to the finals. And George liked Belgium
Croatia
a lot.
50-1. I got to think England's beating.
Yeah, I think England is too.
Golf, and we're going to finish up here in the final seconds. Do we want to watch Phil Mickelson versus Tiger Woods?
We might not,
head-to-head,
but the whole country will.
$10 million
Albert's son-in-law
Yes,
will.
he'll watch. He said, "I don't watch golf. I watch Tiger." That's what he says.
Go watch that.
Yes.
That is it for us. We run out of time. We will see you next week.